Hello everyone, my name is Susie Q and I am the owner and maker of Glitter with Susie Q. Today we're going to be making this wood grain and glitter tumbler that says, "We interrupt this marriage for baseball season" tumbler. My husband and I are huge baseball fans, and I know that baseball season is starting at the end of this month, and I couldn't go without making a baseball tumbler. I'm going to start off by sanding my tumbler. I am going to take this 180 grit sanding block and just rub it all around the tumbler in order to get the manufacturer's slick coat off of the tumbler. Once I'm done sanding it, I'm going to take it and I am going to wash it with dish soap and water. Then I'm going to take my tumbler outside and I am going to do 3 thin coats of spray paint. I choose to do 3 thin coats so that no drips happen in the painting process of my tumbler. In between each layer of spray paint, I let it dry for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then after that it's completely dry, or dry enough to do another coat that won't create drips. The next step in creating this tumbler is I am going to use 2 different kinds of painter's tape in order to tape off my tumbler. I want to make sure that this tumbler has very crisp lines. I don't want this to be a tumbler that's like your traditional swirl where one swirl starts and the other swirl stops and it's very fluid. I want it to be very rigid. And so I am going to take 4 pieces of this green painter's tape that's about 1 inch long, and I am going to just mask off and tape where I want the wood grain to be. So my vision for this is I want to be able to see where the swirl starts and stops in the same place, just it'll start at the top and end at the bottom. I am then going to take this blue painter tape and just loosely follow the tape that I put down with the green painter tape. I am going to mask off the white part so that no wood grain or no alcohol ink gets where I want the glitter to be. So I'm just going to take this blue painter's tape, wrap it around, kind of following those lines that I made with the green painter's tape. It doesn't matter if it's completely perfect, but close enough. You can see that I'm now removing the green painter's tape and I am just putting it over the section to finish covering the white part that I want to be the glitter. I am also taping off the bottom so that I can glitter the bottom as well. I am taking the tape that's on the inside and I'm just trying to move it out of my way so I can get my foam tumbler piece back in there so that it's not in the way later when I'm trying to put this on my drying rack. I then take some paper towel. You want to make sure that you're pretty careful about how you use your alcohol ink. This will stain whatever it touches, so just make sure that you're careful and you have something underneath you that you don't mind if it gets a little stained or dirty. I am going to use this brown alcohol ink, and I am going to use a makeup pad, and I am just going to put a streak of brown alcohol ink down, and I'm just going to use my makeup brush to smear it in. Make sure that when you're doing this part, you are very careful about where you put your alcohol ink. As you can see right here on the back side of the tumbler, there is some alcohol ink that I did not see, and you will see that throughout the tutorial. Here I'm trying to wipe it off a little bit, and it's already on there. It's already started to dry, and so it is on there for good, and I could not get it to smooth out any better than this. It turns out that it looks fine, it's okay. I just wish that it wasn't there, and so I needed to take more care in making sure that my alcohol ink did not dry in a way that I didn't want it to. I then removed the tape, and I am going to just kind of clean up a couple of spots on my tumbler that had some alcohol ink. Next, I am going to use glitter glue from Krylon Company, and I am going to spread it all along the white section. I am also going to use the glitter color called Disregard from the Glitter Guy. When I am painting on my glitter glue, I want to make sure that I am being very careful not to get any of the glue on the wood grain part. And if I do get any on, I just want to take my finger and I want to wipe it off so that the glitter does not stick to the wood grain part. In the end, it doesn't really matter because we are putting vinyl across there, and it's a thick enough vinyl that you won't be able to see. But I just wanted to make sure that there was not any glitter on the part that was supposed to be wood grain. So I just paint on some of the glitter glue all over where I want the glitter to be. I am then taking my glitter and I am spreading it onto where I just put that glitter glue. You will see that I missed a couple of spots with the glitter, and so I am just going to take the glitter glue and my paintbrush, and I am just going to dab a little bit more glue on there and then pour some glitter on there. And I'm just doing my best in order to go through and make sure that I have full coverage of glitter. After I have gotten the glitter glue on there, I am letting this dry for 2 hours. This particular glitter glue requires 2 hours of dry time. So I set it down and I let it sit and dry for 2 hours. After that 2 hours is over, I go back with my paintbrush, and on that wood grain piece, I am wiping off any of the glitter that just may be resting on the wood grain part. I then am going to take the glitter glue again, and I'm going to go over that glitter spot, or the part of the tumbler that I put the glitter on, and this I'm sealing in that glitter. I want to seal this in because I don't want any of the glitter to travel onto the wood grain section again. I want to make sure that the wood grain stays as close to without glitter as I possibly can get it. So I'm just going to take the glitter glue, and I am just going to put it anywhere that there is glitter. Once I'm done applying the glitter glue, again, I let this sit for 2 hours and I let it dry so that the glitter glue completely and fully finishes drying. After that glitter glue dries for at least 2 hours, I am ready to put my first layer of epoxy on this cup. Even though I sealed that glitter, I really wanted to make sure that no glitter got in the wood grain part. So I am putting my epoxy on the wood grain part first, and I am making sure that I have full coverage of epoxy on the wood grain, and then I'm moving into the glitter section. This is probably unnecessary because in a moment I'm gonna hold my glove up to the camera and you're gonna see that there is no glitter whatsoever, even on the glove. But I just really wanted to make sure that no glitter traveled onto the wood grain part, so that's why I'm doing it separately. After this coat of epoxy, it doesn't matter. I can do the whole cup all in one swipe because there's already a layer of epoxy down there and there's no chance of that glitter traveling to another part of the cup. After letting my tumbler spin overnight and letting it cure, I came back and I wanted to do the decals for this cup. I went ahead and I cut them out using my Cricut, and I am now going to assemble my my decals off of my cup. Some people prefer to assemble their decals on top of their cup. It's a personal choice. I like to do it off of the cup. I feel like I am able to match it up better, and I'm able to have a little bit more forgiveness in my vinyl if I build my my layered pieces off of the cup. I really struggled with this very first seam. I thought it was going to be much easier to peel off the backing than what it was. So I went ahead and I started lining up the red vinyl on top of the black vinyl. And as you can see, I am just really fighting getting this red vinyl off of the back of the carrier sheet. So I thought it would have been much easier to just go ahead and pull the whole seam line off. And I realized, well, this isn't gonna work. So I got transfer tape, and I put transfer tape down, and I then tried to line up my seams that way. I am still struggling, and I cannot get this to line up perfectly. So I end up taking up the transfer tape, and I am still struggling to get this to line up. It was at this time that I realized, with all this maneuvering, I have stretched my vinyl. So I had to cut my vinyl, and I had to kind of piece it together on the black vinyl. Once I was able to cut it, I was then able to line it up a little bit better. It is not perfect by any means. The stretching that I did to it did distort it, and so it did not line up perfectly, but that's okay. It ended up not mattering because in the end, I can tell that it's not lined up perfectly, but to any other person, they're not going to notice. So with the second seam, I went ahead and I started off by putting on my transfer tape and pulling away the carrier sheet. Once I got that carrier sheet on, I was then able to line up the vinyl and easily put it down onto the second seam. that was a much, much easier process, and knowing what I know now, I will do that from now on. I will always put the transfer tape on top of the vinyl in order to help me transfer it over. Here I am assembling the cup. I am putting one seam on one of the border stripes, and then I am going to put the other seam on the other side. The seam is hanging over the top and bottom rim of the cup. So what I'm doing is I'm just cutting it so that there's no hangover over the top edge or the bottom edge. For the word decal, it says, "We interrupt this marriage for baseball season." I am using transfer tape on this part. There was no question that I needed transfer tape, and I went ahead and I taped down the bottom layer so that the static wouldn't pull up the black layer and I'd have a misalignment. So I got it lined up and I put it on my cup, and then I went straight into epoxy. On this epoxy layer, I am using the Flynn Sisters Artist Cure, and I am just spreading the epoxy all over the cup, and then once I'm done spreading the epoxy, I go ahead and I torch it really quickly and I let it cure overnight. The next day I came back and I did the same process again. I used the Flynn Sisters Artist Cure coat of epoxy, and I went ahead and I just put that on top of the last coat that I did, and then I blow out the bubbles that I might not be able to see with a torch. The next day I came back and I am going to clean up my rim. I had a little bit of spray paint inside the cup, so I am just using some alcohol, some 91% alcohol to clean that up, and I am going to use that alcohol on the inside of the cup to clean out the spray paint. I'm also taking my 180 grit sanding block, and I am sanding this so that it is completely smooth. I don't want any bumps, I don't want any lumps. I want it to be as smooth as possible so that this can be my final layer of epoxy. I've gone ahead and I've mixed up some epoxy, and I am then going to spread it on top of that the cup, and I am just going to spread it around, making sure that my epoxy is thin but thick enough that it's going to be my final layer of epoxy. And here's the final tumbler. I think it turned out absolutely beautiful, and I would love it if you would comment below and let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this tumbler tutorial, please let me know in the comments below, and it would also help me a lot if you would like and subscribe to this channel. I am new and I would really love your support. If you need to get in contact with me, please follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and if you need to, please email me. Thank you again so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Bye!